Very good. We are recording. So, Nora, again, thank you. Thank you for doing this with me. It really helps me. And please keep me on track because I tend to go off track and diving into deep ends that I don't even know I'm doing it. So, we're going to talk today about the story is I one of the people that got impacted with Acquia, and I started working on my resume. And at the same time, I started working on doing some blog posts and probably trying to create a new company, and I needed help writing stuff. So I turned to AI. And I know there are so many people that don't like AI because it's fake and what it creates is bad. And I completely agree with that. If you go and ask AI right now, like, create a resume for Carlos Ospina in Drupal, it actually does it.
I will say that I am really loving what Claude is doing in general, but I hear you. You know, it's imagining all of this. I mean, it's
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to mention all of this,
mhm.
but how does it know that I started in Drupal 7? I'm not a dedicated Drupal developer. I haven't developed in 2017. I wasn't developing, and I'm like 50 years old. So where is the rest? So yes, if you leave it open, that's what's going to happen. So everybody asks, how do you use LLMs and or AI or whatever you want to call it? And first, there are two big ones that I've been testing, and one is ChatGPT, and the other is Claude AI. But let's just start how I use AI in general. What I've discovered. Um, I want to start by saying that I hate this existence of the perfect prompt because I do not believe in that. And that's the reason we are going to pay a very high price for using AI. And it's not because AI can be bad for the content creation, it's because it's bad when you believe there is a perfect prompt that is going to give you everything. And it's not. As you can see, my resume kind of was not real. So, how do I use AI? And how I started using AI, the free version and the normal paid version in ChatGPT 3 is I discover, and you will read that you have to give it a role, right? Like they tell you, you have to tell it what is the role. The reality of telling what is the role, what you're doing, etc., is creating what is the context that you want the AI to work on. So this is an example that I just did with my wife, where in a custom module that she had in one application, right? They had a custom field type that needed an extra attribute. She figured everything, how to add the extra attribute. And mind you, my wife is not a backend developer, so she's learning this as she's doing. And she learned how to add the type, how to add the widget, how to add the formatter. Everything works. If I start a new site and add the module, the new field works beautifully. But this is for a current site. There is a field with a lot of information. So you need a hook update to add that attribute. And we didn't know how to do it. And we got example from people, and it was like a complex service for field updater that will update the field. And I'm like, why are you doing this? So I finally convinced her, let's try it with AI. And it helped me to expose my point. So the first thing I did is I'm telling the AI that we're reviewing Drupal code. We first need to do some research. We need to identify anything we know, and in the web about API Drupal.org, Field API, and Drupal 10.3. And you can notice two things here. It doesn't matter how I write. The AI is going to understand. It's close enough. And second, I'm giving it a context. I'm telling the AI, forget about everything you know. You're going to focus on Field API, and you're going to focus on Drupal 10.3 or later or whatever. And I'm giving it information about where to find that, the information I want, where is my source of truth, api.drupal.org. So that's the first thing that you do. It gives me a little information. What I do is read the information to make sure it's going in the right way. So I can see that it's mentioned in field types, widgets, formatters, field storage. I know it's getting the right information.
I will point out one thing that, and I have seen this a lot with ChatGPT, right there in your initial prompt at the end, you said, please research and wait for more context. I mean, I've tried to do several variations of that to say, don't do anything. I'm just trying to give you some context here before we start. But often, no matter what you say, it will do it anyway.
Yeah, and that's especially with ChatGPT and my experience now between the Claude AI and ChatGPT. Is ChatGPT, it doesn't listen to you. It wants to. And I explained the reason I put here and wait for more context is because I can guarantee you, if I don't do that, it's going to start giving me code on how to create a field. And
so at least it did somewhat listen. That's good to know. Yes.
Yeah. And actually, I have it even better here on my next step. Oh my God, I cannot highlight anything here. The next step is actually telling it what we're going to do. So first, provide context, provide the information that you want, whether it's coming from you or having it find it, as we did. The next step for me is explain what we want to do. What is my use case? If we want to use it in, kind of development-y way. But yeah, I have to tell it that I'm going to provide more information and do not provide anything until I ask you to. Because I don't want long chats of stuff that I don't need, that is going to make it be lost. And also remember that when you type a new message in the chat GPT, the context of your conversation becomes the whole conversation. So if you already have a bunch of information that you don't need, that is not worth it, it's going to end up confusing the model because it's part of the context. It's part of what it's using to answer. So anyway, I managed it to make it listen to me, and I can see. So I provide the original code that we did to create the field, right? And it's still listening, and then I provide the code of what changed to create the new attribute. And what is the problem? I'm sorry, I probably went too fast about that. The problem is we need to create the hook update. And we need to create the hook update because it's a current site. And then we need to create the new attribute in the database, or we're going to have issues. So my first question, and I use this a lot, is I make sure we are on the right track. So I tend to ask questions like this. Do you see and understand the changes? And maybe here is good to mention that since I don't believe in the perfect prompt, you're going to notice that I speak to the AI like it's my child. Actually, I call it in Spanish my asistente, my dumb assistant. So I'm very, and it's not because the AI is going to understand better. It's because it allows me to communicate better what I want to do in my style and how I write and how I talk. So I ask if I understand, and then I review what I get back, and I can see, okay, it's noticing the important parts, the part of the code about the new attribute, the schema. I know Drupal. I'm not a developer, but I know enough of code, and this is important. I'm not asking it to create code. I'm not asking it to create something I don't know. I know what is happening, so I can tell off the bat, okay, we are in good beginning part. And then we had a long conversation, and I think it's just provided. I actually finally give it a task, and give me a hook update for this, and it gives me code, and I also kind of review what is there and have an idea.
Can I ask real quick if you back up, just for people that might be doing something similar? This part here where you said we need the code for the hook update, is this something that you already knew needed to change?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm not gonna add. I'm not gonna come and see if the AI can find out how do I fix that problem. I may do it if I don't know, but that probably will be part of another chat.
Okay.
where I will be asking, I have this problem, this is happening, why I'm getting these errors, and probably at some point it will tell me, yeah, there are hook updates, or you need to update the database, and it will make me realize. So yeah, that comes to the point is I'm using the AI to facilitate my work,
Hmm.
or in this case, my wife's work, not to do anything new or create anything that may not work. Is
Hmm.
we already identify, yeah, it's a hook update, but how in the Lord's names you do a hook update for this? So it
Hmm.
gave us a code, and this is very interesting. I can see that it's using actually, calls that I've seen that I know that exist in Drupal. So we are in a good path, mostly. Uh, it becomes, and it gives me a little breakdown of the code and how to use it. That is okay. I didn't ask for that, so I didn't like it, but it gave it to me. I asked it finally. The first time is making sure
Hmm.
that it's using the context that I put at the beginning. And you're gonna see some more responses. It's doing an analysis that, yeah, it's using it. But when we put this code in our Visual Studio Code, it told us that one of the methods was not there. It was not defined. So right here, you can see that. And what I want to show from this is, oh yeah, we did it a couple times. So at some point, and let me remember, oh yeah, at some point when I do a question like, we have a bad method, it replaces how it did it. It
Hmm.
changed the code. We got some different bad methods, errors when we tested this code. So I tell it, like, maybe we're missing the use for the classes. And I know, like, I can show you something. I know we put these little things in the code. So you use the
Okay.
right class and the methods are loaded and stuff. You
Hmm.
have to understand, I know development. I started developing way, way long ago, but I stopped when objects were becoming a thing. So objects
Hmm.
bite me. So I don't know any of the concepts. So I don't know what's the technical name for this, but I can
Hmm.
just tell him, like, we're forgetting the use thingy for classes,
Hmm.
and it will understand.
Hmm.
Um, so it did, but when it wrote this code, it's something. It's now doing instance off, and it's doing so much different stuff. If you see very quick, this
Hmm.
compared to this, it's like, whoa, what the hell happened? It's a lot of differences. And now,
Hmm.
when you're doing code, it's my opinion that if you're asking an AI to help you with code, and you're doing little tweaks, right? Like you do your tweaks, the tweaks that you will type in your Visual Studio Code, but instead of
Hmm.
having to type them, you're telling the AI to do them. Like, this method is not found out. Oh, you need this use case, this
Hmm.
class. If it changes too much, it's probably because it's getting confused or it's using the wrong information. So I come back and do stuff like this. And again, I talk like it's my little dumb assistant or my little kid. I was like, why the code changed so much? Remember the Drupal version and what api.drupal.org says, api.drupal.org says.
Yeah.
So I kind of redirect and it comes like, yeah, I get these answers, like, yeah, you're absolutely
Hmm.
correct.
Hmm.
And it rewrites the code and we're back to the same original code,
Hmm.
kind of.
Hmm.
We discover more stuff. It's using the table name, adding field data directly. We discover more errors. And one of the things that we discover is the name of the field is of the table is wrong, the name that is creating.
Hmm.
So we went into the site and we saw how the original table was created, how the original name of the field was created,
Hmm.
right? And I'm providing this information, and I'm gonna go super fast because I want to move into other. And you can see I'm telling it the tables that I found, so it has an
Hmm.
idea. And then at some point here, uh, it was creating the wrong field name.
Mm-hmm.
So I come back and said, okay, we saw it in the database and it had this name, but the first time my wife gave me this name was wrong.
Mm.
She did a test creating using that field in another block. This is for
Mm-hmm.
block. So the name was for that block, and it
Mm-hmm.
gets a different name, which is not important. But the point is, I got a response, and I knew when we realized that even before the response ended, sometimes after the response ended, that because the name is wrong, it's going to give me the wrong answer. So, and this is a technique that I use or advice or something that I advise people to do is instead of coming, and this is the last message, here to this message and correct the name
Mm-hmm.
and say, oh, sorry, I made a mistake. The name is actually this. Now the wrong name is part of the context. So that is what I believe makes the AI hallucinate more. That's how they
Mm-hmm.
call it, hallucinate.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, I'd rather go back if the AI is hallucinating, no matter what you're doing. If you see it's like, dude, what the hell are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather come back and rewrite the prompt.
And then it will regenerate
And
that
then
stuff
anything that is
after.
after this
Yeah.
goes bye-bye and regenerates the answer,
Oh,
and
okay.
I'm back on my track.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we did. And actually, yeah, we played with this, and this code has worked and updated the database. So that's how I started using AI. But now I had to do resumes. So what I learned is, and reading about creating apps is, how do you make an LLM answer what you want and its context? That's basically its context. How do you provide context? I also heard from some people, if you're writing stuff, Claude is better. And actually, there are several articles. There is one from a writing AI product that compares, and it says ChatGPT is way better in analyzing, doing deep analysis, or
Mm-hmm.
while writing in a more realistic way, Claude does it. So I started testing Claude, and I started getting blocked because I was using Claude a lot. So the free version will block me. So I decided to pay for Claude, and I discovered with happiness that the pay version of Claude has projects. And what is projects? And this is what makes it super powerful and is what demonstrates the importance of context. And we're going to use my resume building and job posting uh, project. And as you can see, I don't know how to type because it's the one that I have been working the most lately.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the beauty. I'm doing the same for my blogging. I'm doing the same for Parcera, which is the company I'm trying to create.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a very advanced, but we're going to start from the bottom. I started this project and I discovered that you have two things that you can add. You can add content to the project knowledge. And this is context. And your application, this is the RAG, the RAG, the vector database with information or whatever, to reduce your tokens. That is another, but this is what you're doing. You're giving it your information so it uses it. And you can also create in the project special commands. So let's start with this. So I started with my project instructions. And I have very specific goals. I do not want AI to create content. At the best, my AI is an editor
Mm-hmm.
for me. Why? Because you have seen, I don't know how to type, and I'm very convoluted when I am throwing ideas.
Mm-hmm.
I just go back and forth. I start from the beginning and we'll go to the end, go to the middle. If you have heard the Latinos, we tend to speak, and I'll tell the story very quick. When you learn about writing in English, English writes essays, right? English writes, I'm going to talk about this. One paragraph explaining my first point, one paragraph explaining my other point, one paragraph explaining my third point, and a conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
Spanish, Latin people writes like one paragraph explaining what I want to do, then a paragraph explaining about the first point, but I remember that that goes to the third point. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and I'm going to go back over here, and I'm going to go back over there and come back, and then I come back to the second point, and I remember something that is going to be tied to the last point that I already talked about. So I'm going to bring it in here, and that's how we talk and write.
Hmm.
And that's how I write. So I needed, an editor, which is the AI. One of the first commands that I do, and I recommend everybody to do something similar, whatever the words you want to use, is do not embellish, create words, or over exaggerate or lie. I don't want the AI saying that I know a technology that I have never worked on. I don't want because it matches the job post. I don't want the AI to, instead of saying Carlos has worked in Drupal for 10 years, saying Carlos has a fantastic experience in the Drupal world for the last 10 years, which it will do
Hmm.
if left to its own devices.
So
And
these are like overall rules that you're setting for
correct,
the entire
for the whole
project.
project. These
Yeah.
rules will apply to every conversation that you start within the project.
Yeah, and I've had that experience. I think with any AI, this problem right here that this first bullet point addresses. This need that you're not wanting it to embellish, you're wanting it to not over exaggerate. So it's kind of a do not. This is really most important. And then following down, you have some other things about
Yeah,
how it will operate, like you can change things for grammar, syntax, like you were talking about. Yes.
correct. Yes, okay. Fix my grammar, fix my syntax, give it
Mhm.
more impact to my ideas. That is okay. If I'm saying I'm a Drupal developer and you want to say since 2012 and you want to say 10 years plus of experience as a Drupal developer, that is okay. That is true. That's still my words in a better way. But
Mhm.
if you want to say that I'm also an expert on WordPress, don't, because I don't use bad words. Uh, do not produce content until being asked so. This is very important in the rules for me on an AI, because if not, as we mentioned before, it's going to fill you with information. Any changes I ask to be shown before they happen. And I try to, I use this. It doesn't work completely perfect on GPT, works very good here. And is any changes should be underlined and show me an explanation. So sometimes Claude is gonna, this is the previous paragraph. This is the new paragraph. And in the little doc that you saw a minute ago with my resume, you will see it in italic or underlined. So
Mhm.
I know that's the change it made, so I can review that it did not create anything new. And there is other commands that have been added about it. So the last one is talking about what to start using from the context, and more like what is the job that we're going to do, right? So I found a blog called the 13 Red Flags of a Resume, so I copy pasted and became part of my project knowledge. I found a fantastic public document from a university about LinkedIn 101, so I copied and put it. Nohra, you gave me some documents that later we can show, and also it's about how to write a cover letter
Yeah.
and a resume. And you gave me something on how to get hired very quick. I added this. I want the AI to have all the information I find about the task that I want to accomplish, write good resume, and and apply to jobs. So anyway, those
So
are the instructions.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I think what I'm seeing here already is that how it looked at the beginning, was it evolves over time, and I know you're going to go over
yes,
how it has evolved. But yeah, I think that that's interesting to see how it's structured there in Claude to have these overall rules. Go ahead.
correct. And you're gonna discover more rules, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about that. So, but I wanted to, how did I start? I started with LinkedIn, which was the one that I kind of had more updated. I had an old resume, so I added my old resume, and I wanted to add my LinkedIn. Now, if you have tried the export to PDF, it sucks. It's not good. But if you come here to data privacy and you ask to get a copy of your data,
Hmm.
you can get a complete download of all your data,
Hmm.
which looks, let me see if I have it very easy here. I can find it. Yes, which looks, and I'm trying to bring a file here, something like this. As you click, target, causes you care, certification, coach messages, comments, company follows, education, email, that follow, job application, save, job, learning, login, member follow, phone number, everything.
Mm-hmm.
So my start on this was giving it all these documents. That was my
Oh,
initial project knowledge.
okay.
All of them. I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
what was there.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that I found cool is after I did that, and I don't know if it is, it's going to be hard to find, but you can actually ask it. Okay, from the project knowledge, which documents are repetitive? Which documents can I get rid of? And it
Mm.
actually will tell you. It will tell you like this document, and I don't know, your resume has exactly the same information. You can get rid of that one. So it's amazing because it helps you because, well, as you see, you have a capacity. So when I put
Mhm.
my LinkedIn here, the capacity went
Mm. So it
to
helped
the
you
top.
eliminate some of those files that you didn't actually need. Would you
Exactly.
say that Claude is it's more natural to kind of have this sort of conversation that we hear people saying that you should have with your chat
I
GPT or
do,
with your
I,
AI?
I do feel that. I
Mhm.
do feel that is a better conversation, especially I think it has to do with uh, this. ChatGPT is not good on listening to that instruction.
Oh,
Ask
to ask
questions.
questions. Yeah.
Claude actually listens to that. And every interaction that I have inside a project is a lot of questions. Before it writes something, we have like 2 or 3 chats where it asks 5 questions. I answer the 5 questions, and then ask me another 3 questions, and then ask me another 2 questions, and it's relevant.
So
Our
this really
question
gives you the experience of like the feeling of working with an editor or with an editorial team. Hmm?
that is correct, and we're going to see examples. So what happened later? After I did that, uh, there is a problem with Claude, and it's the biggest advantage of ChatGPT is Claude is still in jail. Claude cannot go to the web.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So you will see me doing stuff like as I'm changing. So I started with my LinkedIn and we wanted to change LinkedIn. So I added the LinkedIn 101 and that helped a lot. Uh, and I started adding more context. So my context is my content. So I added documents like this, and this I did too because I didn't know I could, simply save it and replace it. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, actually, I cannot replace it. I can add it again and delete the old one. But this stuff is just me ranting about who I am, who I believe is important. And it's me tuning my own horn because it has to be that way. Nobody's going to do it if you don't do it. And it's between you and Claude at the end of the day. And this is what I've been doing, what I have done, what customers, and then I remember more stuff, and then I put it this way. So, what was my goal? My goal was to first create my initial resume.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to tell a story. I'm a TAM, and as a TAM, there are no more TAMs or similar jobs in Drupal. But I've been doing Drupal for 10 years. This means I have to go to a different technology. And if you ever see my resume or my LinkedIn, you will see that I've done that my whole life. I started as a software developer. When that bored me or for whatever reason, I moved into networking. And I became an expert in networking. And I actually created an RFP in a government agency to install the first Linux server in any government agency in Colombia in 1998.
Really?
Yeah,
That's a feather in your cap.
yes. But then I went to a talk about PKI,
Mm.
and for some reason I became the expert on PKI and ended up working for the Chamber of Commerce, who created the first certification, digital certification authority under some laws in Colombia. And I was
Mhm.
the tech lead to create that digital certification authority. So I've been changing tech stacks constantly. So I wanted to
Mhm.
tell the story that, hey, I want to be your TAM, but I probably don't know what you're doing. What is your technology, especially? um, because I came to the States to be a bilingual elementary teacher. Yes, I changed careers just to get to here.
Mhm.
And then I went to Drupal. So I've been away for a while. And the story is, look, I have the TAM skills,
Mhm.
but I can learn new technology. So that was my goal at the beginning, create that
Mhm.
resume. That created
And
a lot.
that was what you put into your what makes me special and more about me. Some of that
Yes,
story there.
all
Gotcha.
that stuff. And I did this change. And I actually came to the United States and didn't know how to become a teacher. I found out that about I've heard, I knew how to become a teacher, but the actual process, I didn't know everything. And in 3 months, I was certified as a teacher and hired by a school. And I think that makes me special. That shows that I can learn something new. I wanted to put that in some way in my resume. What I
Mhm.
realized is I need to have a super long resume that I'm going to use and tailor into a more targeted resume for job postings, depending on my role. But the reason I'm telling this is the process started like that. And I actually started getting a good resume. And I did like 7 different passes. And every time I did, I will bring my resume here. And one thing that I wanted to mention when I said it's in jail, then all the changes I did to LinkedIn, I started with LinkedIn. I create a document and I kept updating them in the same project knowledge because I cannot go to LinkedIn and see them. So when I changed my headline, was in that document. When I changed my summary, put it in that document. So that way I can come back if I want to do another pass because we learned something new, we got a new stuff. So what happened is I talked to somebody and he had a resume tips consolidated. So I didn't even read it. I took a little look. It looks interesting. Boom, project knowledge. And I will go to the AI and tell it, okay, we have a new document. Review my resume against this document. And it will realize, like, yeah, it says that you have to have more keywords on this and that and propose some changes or my LinkedIn. And when
Have
those
you
changes
found
were
that when you're copying information into here that you need to reformat it in any way, or are you just sometimes just
no,
copying and pasting the
copy
straight
paste
text?
in any way you can.
Mm.
Now, it uses a lot of markdown. Both AIs use markdown a lot. So everything has become markdown when I can.
Mm.
But it can come from text, it can come. The only thing that I found out is that I rather have a text file with this because when you can add content from a file or directly.
Hmm.
So you can actually just type stuff in there.
Hmm.
Remember, you want the AI to write your words, so here are your words,
Hmm.
not whatever imagine. So as this started happening, I started adding stuff and more LinkedIn tips and job search tips. And then I found some advice about keywords in the resume. So I added that. And every time I added something new, I I make sure to ask again, what else can we do? At some point, I decided I'm done with the main resume.
Hmm.
We're not going to add anything. And this is what is very interesting. At this point, I was sure that I had to tell Claude AI so many freaking times to tone it down. I will never say this. That's not how I say. Go look at my document so you can look at this and see how I talk. And it will see stories like I tell all my customers and I make this joke and it's like my cell phone number is in my signature in my company account. And while everybody says don't give your number to customers, they're gonna call you whenever. I just tell them, call me. You can call me at any time you want. Now, if it's after 6 p.m., I may or not be drunk. So whatever service you get, not my fault. And I asked Cloud AI, let's create a tone guide
Hmm.
for Carlos Ospina.
Oh.
And it actually did it. And you can review it and you can see. So you see that I adapt tone to context while maintaining authenticity. I try to combines technical precision with approachable explanation. I really try to do that. I don't like, when it gets so technical, just annoys me.
And
And it
you use
actually,
Claude to generate this tone
yes.
specifically? Okay.
So what did I do is I found one of the longest chats that we have,
Mm-hmm.
in arguments, and I argue with the AI, and why the hell did you write that? You will never hear me say that. But I will
To
say
a real
things
person.
to
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I'm talking to a real person, and it goes and says, yes, I'm sorry, and corrects, and actually corrects better. And we
Mm-hmm.
can jump a little bit ahead, and we're gonna say which one is better. ChatGPT is not so responsive to that. I found out. Like Claude AI is very responsive, like, ooh, sorry, yes, and never do it again. With ChatGPT, at some point, you're going to get a circular same mistake. Give you a fix, you tell it to stop being stupid, and then give you a correction like that. The correction is not good. So come back to the other and gives you the same response again that it was bad. Like, why are you doing this? And gives you the second one, and it stays there. Most likely than Claude. So, yeah, I do that. So actually, you can start enhancing your project knowledge with the help of what you're doing. So we're within the project, and like we can be doing. I don't remember when I did it, but I will do different passes. Like I talked to somebody. This one here is that one. To a friend that has some ideas about LinkedIn. So he showed me my LinkedIn, give me 6, 7 points about it, enforce how previous experiences, extract Drupal experience and from the time experience, and stuff like that. And you can see it start asking questions, very relevant questions.
Mm-hmm.
For non-Drupal time experience, what percentage of your time was spent on non-Drupal? What can you list the main non-Drupal tools, technologies that you use? About GitHub actions and workflows, what do you do? Blah blah blah. And I can respond if I have, like something interesting. And it keeps we keep talking and asking
Mm-hmm.
questions till finally at some point it gives me a new recommendation based on those recommendations. So I keep doing this a lot, and whenever I updated something,
Mm-hmm.
whatever was the final version at some point, because it keeps going, at some point it produce a new version of the resume. The
Mm-hmm.
one that I have right now is completely different to this one, or kind of different, and it just does that. And you see, oh, okay, now with certifications.
I don't
and
think
and, and
update. I think you have to close out of that one and then try again.
it has it. It's not a big difference. So
Oh, okay. It did. All right. I'm sorry. I see it.
probably, yeah, it's probably, I don't know where the certifications are, but it added certifications,
There we go. Gotcha.
right?
Nice.
Um, but it's a conversation. So
Mhm.
I kept doing that, and then I asked it to create the tone. You gave me the resume.
On the tone, real quick. I mean, really, what the whole point here is that you're trying to create, this resume. In this context, we're talking about resume. That's in alignment with like who you are. I mean, it really is a resume that's speaking to your tone, your
Correct.
your way of speak. It's not just about like a sort of happy tone or that sort of thing. It's more like nuances and in human
Yes.
language that you wouldn't normally think to would be really valuable, but it is. I mean, people see like who you are through your communication, whether it's your resume or it's a blog or something else. And so
And
having that conversation with it to be able to
exactly.
like feed back in and talk about the tone,
And very,
that's
very
really interesting.
important. Very important is it's not like it did magically this tone, right? Like
Right.
it didn't happen. I started in a conversation. And that's
Mhm.
what I want to show right now. Is now I'm moving to something more advanced. And if I have an interview framework, I have a cover letter framework, I have a tailoring resumes framework. So what is that? If as I started now moving into tailoring resumes for job postings, I'm going to have a huge argument. And if you can see, this And these are two different chats about the same tailoring. So on a note, something cool that you can do is at some point, and I believe you saw it in the other one, but you will see this. Long chats will get my usage done quickly.
Mm. Hmm.
You can actually ask the AI. I didn't do it for this. Okay, yeah. We need to start a new chat. So please provide a detailed report of what we already discussed, what we're focusing on, and the already approved changes.
Hmm.
So it gives me, we talk about we're tailoring your resume for a senior technical, blah, blah, blah. The key context is position focuses on this. This is blah, blah, blah. The progress we made, we analyzed the job requirements, we verified the strong culture, we started the resume tailoring, blah, blah, blah. The approved changes so far are this and that. And then I ask it to give me the full resume, how we are. And with that, I can start the next one. And then
Hmm.
I avoid having to tell it everything else again. So the
Hmm.
context, each chat can see the program the project knowledge. Each chat can be the instructions, but that chat cannot see the other chat. So this is my way of bringing
So
that
it's sort of
into
a
the chat.
reset in a way, but you're still bringing what's important forward.
Yeah. So it's kind of where are we at, and give me a checkpoint, and then we can start again. And
Nice.
this is what is interesting. I'm using this tailoring based on my long resume,
Hmm.
based on my cover letter framework, and based on my tailoring framework. How this framework come to fruition is the same. The AI created them.
Hmm.
So the main one is the tailoring is after I tailor a document, I had
Hmm.
a long discussion like don't do that, don't do this. No, I don't want you to change my achievements just to make them fit better. Not in that way. Don't change them too much or whatever discussion I had. I
Hmm.
asked the AI at the end. Okay, we have been tailoring a resume. Let's create a framework so I don't have to ask you the same stuff and argue the same things over and over again. And it gave me an initial framework. So, and it goes like be concise and whatever it created at the beginning, right? And it
Hmm.
was based on what I've been asking. Then I realized, as I said, I will not know the technology. And clearly, I've been rejected a couple of times. Clearly, nobody's reading my resume because if you're asking for a TAM or somebody that knows success, not only me, but everybody that is being let go as a TAM in Acquia, we started 10 years ago where there was no TAM. I looked for jobs at the same time in TAM, and there was just a few. And we have the experience. But if we don't know Java or another tech, we probably being rejected. So I realized like I don't like cover letters, but I'm gonna write a cover letter. And I want to write a cover letter that says, hello, I'm me. Hey, I know a lot about customer success. I probably don't know your tech. And but I can learn it. But I can assure you to learn how to keep a customer that is unhappy and make him happy is not that easy. And I told this to the AI, and it created the cover letter framework. So I told it, I first want to say this, I second want to say this, I third want to say this, and it rewrite it. But so you can improve your knowledge with the AI, but this is the beauty of it. I started this conversation. We're tailoring a resume. It's giving me, as you can see, and I'm not stopping too much because maybe there's something there that is, confidential. I don't think it is. I finally start getting tailored resume
Hmm.
results, and I start getting stuff and tailored resumes, and eventually I'm
And
happy
cover
with my
letter stuff, but yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
Eventually I'm happy,
Hmm.
right? And you can see here that I actually have been doing something, and it's going back and forth with ChatGPT and AI and Claude AI, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in a second. Uh, and eventually, I moved into the cover letter, and we started arguing. So you can see different versions of the cover letter. uh, and I argue on stuff that it put and I don't like. So it keeps writing the cover letter. Then I ask to revise everything against the framework. And this is what you can do. It fixes it. And then you can start actually. So what I started doing is I realized that when AI is asking me questions, I remember stuff that I forgot to tell it or things that I did that can be relevant for a job posting. So I can, okay. And this is the question. Okay, this is good. And we did some interesting additions to the resume that may not be in the current full resume. Do you see any? And it tells me, yes, there is a little bit about data-driven platforms, specific stuff about analytics and metrics. Do you want to add them? And the answer is yes, give me a new version. And then I'm going to update my resume and update the project knowledge with these new additions. Remember, this can be as long as it can be because I wanted to tell the whole story.
Mhm.
But I also can start asking, okay, is there anything new in this discussion that we can add to the tailoring framework?
Mhm.
And it actually detects, yes, cultural alignment. We
I
talk
love
about
this part right here specifically. What we're saying is that we're operating against the documents that we've already uploaded to the project, and like kind of having this side conversation. It's like,
yeah,
okay, thank you for helping me with all this stuff, but now let's make sure that we can, carry some of these learnings forward. And I want you to operate against those particular documents that we have been using as rules in our conversation.
yeah.
That's
So
great. I love it.
an example is that in my original cover letter, I was thinking, I want to tell them that I may not know the technology, I can learn it. As I was writing this, it came to me, and I believe was ChatGPT. I have to accept that give me the idea. I can challenge the company. I can say, I don't know your technology, but you give me an interview. I will discuss your technology with whoever interviews me
Mhm.
to show, oh, I can learn it. Before
Mhm.
the interview, I will not learn it, but I will be able to discuss it. And so he saw that I've been asking about that, and creates like discover an effective approach to addressing unfamiliar technology. Then I will prepare for the interview. Angle was compelling, and I can ask it, and then it enhances the tailoring resume. So I get this is the whole resume. It gets the document from the project knowledge, add the changes, and then I go copy all these, replace my file, and then go to the project knowledge, delete the old version, and add the new version. And then I go and move into the technical cover letter framework. Is there anything new in the cover letter that we found out? Yes. Okay. So then let's add that into the framework. And this is to show you can keep growing your context with the same stuff that you're doing. Once you discover, oh, now the AI is doing blah, I don't know, that I don't like, I can add that to my context. And actually, it's the same AI that is going to tell you when you told it, don't do that. So this is, again, not about a prompt. It's about doing it,
Mhm.
talking with it. So that's what I've been doing. And as you can see, I have a lot of chats with this, but I'm doing the same for blogging. So I have the blog post because it doesn't go to the internet. So every blog post that I write, I add to the context. So it has my writing and what I liked. My tone. Um,
So you've given, in this example, you've given it some samples of your existing writing
it's
and some other
but
things as well. Is that right?
it's writing that I did with it.
Okay. Gotcha.
So it all started with my thought on AI. For
Okay.
example, is my ranting about AI. And we wrote a post about AI. And also, and it's not here because I deleted, I added and actually put it in the chat all my thoughts about updating Drupal. And we created the first one that is the update blog. So after it's written and I like it and it sounds like, yes, something that I would write if I had the capacity to write good syntax and good grammar and actually type, I added here on ChatGPT, I could tell it to go and see the site. But since I cannot do that to Claude, I just add the writing. And that helped create the tone and everything. But the point is, I keep doing this. So I found some great recommendations about how to make a compelling blog post. He made a public LinkedIn uh, post, and oh, this is good. So I just copy it, paste it, and put it in there. And now it uses it to write my post. And you can see I'm also using it for the company. So I actually already created a comprehensive development agency framework.
Hmm.
And now I'm trying to follow it for my company. And I mean, it is worth a lot. It is a lot of work to create this context, and you have to keep improving it. But right now, for me, thinking about paying for a resume place,
Hmm.
to tailor my resumes, I won't do it because I can do it here for the same price, but I'm also doing my blogging and I'm also doing my
Hmm.
other stuff, and I
Hmm.
understand. Now, this comprehensive, like this example, takes me to something that is my process and is how I use both of them. So usually when I start doing anything, and this is the job posting from yesterday, I use ChatGPT because ChatGPT is way better in investigating.
Hmm.
And also, it can access the internet. So what I do is in my process, if I'm writing about some topic, if I'm looking about a senior a job posting, I ask it to find out everything about the company, everything about the position, and eventually, and I didn't do it in this one, but eventually I keep asking questions to get information, and then I ask, give me a detailed report of our research. And it does, and that's what I use to move into Claude AI, to have all the information available for when I say something, it can, correlate to the actual real information. Uh, as I was using this, I kept getting us again, left out. So I decided I'm gonna pay for it, and I discovered that they also have the GPTs, and the GPTs is
So this is kind of similar to projects on
correct.
Claude,
This is
correct?
similar to projects. They are funnier to create because you can create them with AI. So you can tell it, I want a GPT that does this and that, and does other things, and whatever you want, right?
Hmm.
And then when you're done, you can start actually uploading documents as well.
Hmm.
So right now, what I'm doing, because I have this, is I am going back and forth.
Hmm.
Since ChatGPT has better analysis, I can come back, and I was doing that. I can come back to my Taylor Career Writer and ask it
Hmm.
to create a resume. Then the Taylor resume that I got here, I get it to Claude AI and tell it like, we are working. I already got it started. This is the resume that I got it started, and this is the whole research, and it will do some changes. And sometimes I will bring it back here and say, hey, I changed it a little. What do you think? And the analysis, especially if it's a very different, if it's a position that is a little bit more far away from what I do, it
Hmm.
will find stuff that is interesting. So sometimes I go back and forth until I see something that I like and like I feel confident applying it, right? What I discover is what is better, ChatGPT or Claude? Definitely, definitely writing. Uh, and we can see it in this one because we were comparing. I started at some point. There is still usage limit in Cloud AI. It's longer if you pay, but there is still one. I got blocked out, so I decided to add all the stuff. So let me go back a little bit. So the GPTs are good, but I discovered that the GPTs usually use a smaller model.
Hmm.
So it wasn't being that smart
Hmm.
as I wanted it. So now I'm using the normal chat, but then I have to add all the documents one by one. Like
Hmm.
here is my tone guide, here is my resume, here is the framework,
Hmm.
and, and trying to give it the context. But I wanted to show this. This is the initial cover letter for that job,
Hmm.
and you can see how it has, like the bold stuff, and it's so organized, one after the other, and
It's that sort of classic ChatGPT and
Exactly.
academic sort of outlined sort of
And as I
way
was
of.
telling you outside, it's like if you give me something disorganized, I don't know what to do with it.
Mm,
I get so confused. It's my brain, as I said, is going in every direction,
hmm
and this is not good. But when I brought this then back to ChatGPT, so let me get over this one again. Enhance it. This is the fixes. This is exactly the same cover letter. It
hmm
actually uses pretty much the same words, but it's written in a way that yes is more the stuff and the kind of things that I will write. It is more natural. Yes, is helped by the AI, of course, but it's me. It's like I can feel like yeah, I will say that. Yeah, that's
hmm
something I will say, and that is true, and that's the biggest thing for me. It is true.
hmm
So in some place, at the beginning, it was saying I already started learning about Apache Druids. Like, no, I have not. I'm saying that if you give me an interview, whenever I get to the interview, I will commit
hmm
to know about Druid.
And again, that commit thing, Claude knows about this because it has all those documents and it has the tone and the instructions that you gave it as well. Whereas
And we fight.
ChatGPT didn't have that
And
ability.
and even when it had the documents, it didn't look at the documents as much.
Mm-hmm.
It's more common in my experience now that I have to tell ChatGPT we have a tone guide in the documents. Oh,
Mm. You have to
yes,
remind it, yeah.
than doing it to Claude AI. I actually can ask Claude AI, give it a resume or any writing and say, does this align with our documentation? And it goes like, the 13 red flags, yes, we're not following any. Your tone guide, yeah, everything is approachable. But in here, this is too formal for your tone guide. And it will
Mm-hmm.
do that stuff automatically. So yeah, I find that a better approach. So basically what I'm doing is, I'm still using ChatGPT. Images in Claude are terrible. I mean, if
Mm.
you ask Claude to create an image, it will create a doodle.
Okay.
If you ask ChatGPT, it's very powerful. It's very
Mm.
interesting. You can always tell that it's created with ChatGPT, but you can actually, if the more specific you are, the better the image is. But anyway, I'm using it for that because I'm doing some blogs and I don't want to steal some image. I want something generated that is
Yeah.
not really. I'm using it to do research,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm actually using it to have like talk to me about Apache Druid.
Mm.
Go
Give
find
some
stuff.
training in some ways, yeah.
Yeah, give it to me in layman terms. Now let's dive into the technical part because I start that way. When I
Mm-hmm.
learn, I have a black box approach. In my concept, the black box is I will learn what I need to know. If you're in Drupal, if I'm doing front end, I will learn CSS. I will
Mm-hmm.
not touch preprocess until the only fix is a preprocess function.
Mm.
Before that, I know they exist, but I don't even care how you make a preprocess because I don't need it. It's a black box. I know it's there. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
use it when I need it. Like kind of the hook update question that you asked me earlier. I know the
Mm-hmm.
hook update is there. We need to do it. No idea how to do it. Now I learn because we need to open that black box. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, I'm using ChatGPT for this. I don't like how it writes. It's robotic. Sometimes according to the studies, Claude hallucinates more,
Mm-hmm.
but it gets corrected easier. When
Okay.
this guy hallucinates, you're done. It is already on LSD and it's not coming down.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
this
gets caught in
one,
those cycles we were talking about where
exactly.
it insists that thing. And even if you go back and edit that previous chat and it does regenerate, it seems like that it still can get stuck on things.
Correct.
So
This
yeah.
one, you just scream at it and it goes like, oops, sorry. And literally the answer is like, I don't know if I have one. Like it will go answers like this, right? Like I'm trying to make it understand, and actually didn't do it. I am saying I am challenging them to give me an interview, and I will learn the technology just to show them
Mhm.
that if I can understand Druid before an interview, when you do onboarding, and this is in my mind, of course, I will know this technology to help your
The
customers.
fact that it's even able to understand what you said there, by the way, that example right there, you said again, you were like reiterate, you're having an argument, and then you're kind of just you. I would
I'm
say
down.
that in some ways you're kind of rambling on about things, like you're just
Yes,
saying, but I mean, learn Druid, but I will have the ability to discuss it in an interview. So the fact that Claude can kind of take from that and understand, like more intuitively, like what you're looking for as a next step. I think
and
that's
and,
really
and this is the video. As you can see, if you notice, not here, you'll see it better here because that's the area. You can actually see the little changes. You see how the
Mhm.
little changes happen?
Yeah.
And in here is, well, my technical expertise includes platforms like Drupal and data analytics. I have familiarized myself with Apache Druids. And here
Mhm.
we go again. Lord, nope, I want more like. While I
Mhm.
don't know Druid, I will familiarize with it and will be ready for an interview.
Mhm.
And then, while I don't have experience at Apache Druid, I will familiarize myself with these capabilities and be prepared to discuss it knowledgeable in an interview. More importantly, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
And that's it. And I ask it to, so I can go back and, okay, that's good. Now go to the framework, check our framework. And it finds what is good and found out something that is different, that maybe the technology gap can be written better. And that's
Mhm.
when it changes to something more easy.
Mhm.
Anyway, I don't know where it is now, but yeah, it changed to some better, I commit to totally preparing. And that is the challenge I wanted to put in the cover letter.
Yeah, I mean, I do think you bring up this kind of talks about the arguing with AI thing that,
Oh, yeah.
it's good. It's beneficial to kind of go back and forth with it because it will fine tune things and, get your framework updated, there at the end. But it's I think that's one thing a lot of people have trouble with is that they encounter that situation where it's not giving them the sort of results that they're looking for, and they might give up or they might try something completely different or
Exactly.
start the whole thing over. But it seems like that these sort of arguments, I guess you could say, are more productive when it comes to creating content with Claude, whereas it may not be necessarily with Chat GPT. But again, on the Chat GPT side, it can do a lot of research and analysis. That's really, really interesting to see how you kind of make decisions about where you play to the strengths of Chat GPT
Yeah.
versus Claude, and that you're using both of them.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the idea. And I believe to summarize what we're talking about is I make the AI write what I want. So yeah, it's content generated by AI, but it's not AI's content.
Mhm.
And the other thing that is fantastic, if you're technical and you're doing this is actually developing an application. I mean, it's not developing an application, but when you develop with LLS, you're using RAG, you're using vector databases, you're using files as context. Look at every example. It's exactly like the project is doing, just here, and not optimized and not, programmatically and not as a service. But I totally see now if I ever get an idea about a product that uses AI, I will start here. I will start adding documents and instructions on how to answer and recommendations and more information, etc., until I have a chatbot, quote unquote, here that answers what I wanted to answer. And then I know what is the information I need to vectorize, what is the information that needs to be there, what kind of approach do I need to? Do I need to keep bringing something in the conversation, like, sometimes like remember the framework, like I did with ChatGPT. This is development. This is what AI works and how it's actually, for me, valuable. It took me a long time to accept AI and I decided I'm gonna use my Dome assistant, and it's been fantastic. And this is the best part. Uh, the project, when it says updated, is when I actually changed the name.
Mhm.
So you can see I've been doing this. The first time the one I saw is this one, and I've
Mhm.
been doing this only for a month.
Mm. I mean, that's pretty. That's a lot. That yeah. This I will say that looking at this just initially, it feels like a lot. Like if I were coming into this new, and I am actually going to be building a thing on my side with Claude here, and that's why I'm interested to have this conversation with you today. um, it does feel like a lot of work, right? But I don't know if I'm kind of curious, just maybe you could speak to really quickly, like using your list of documents there on the right hand side, where do you feel like that you started already having Claude or the combination of both? I should just say AI. Where do you feel like that you started feeling like value in this?
From almost from the get go, I started with the blog. Really, I did the blogging first,
Mhm.
and maybe I can go and really here. I started. So I have to correct myself. I started with the AI and the instructions. You're a
Mhm.
blog expert and a SEO expert, blah, blah, blah. Do not embellish, create words, exaggerate, or lie. Any changes should be underlined. Only grammar, syntax, flow, and impact. Do not produce content until be asked to do so. I repeat that several times. Ask as many questions as needed to obtain the best result. I will add previous blog to the project so you have an idea of the finished product.
Now, has
Uh,
that text always remained the same from the beginning when you
no,
used it, or
never.
no? There was maybe
Everything
a couple
changes.
things that you had in
Correct.
there. Okay.
Everything it's an evolution. As soon as
Right.
if by the third chat I have to say something more than once, I will add it somewhere.
Okay. Okay.
Even in on the ones what I've been becoming like with the framework is, hey, we just did something new. I
Hmm.
needed to get to add it.
Hmm.
So from the beginning, I saw the value because all I did is um, this is the AI thing, right? And you're
Hmm.
not going to see my ramblings about AI here, but you're going to see my responses because the ramblings, I call them the ramblings, are here.
Hmm. Gotcha.
And
Okay.
and this is just me writing everything, like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I mean, think about this. And I posted some things in LinkedIn about it. It's like, no, I'm not saying AI going to create my content. I'm saying it can write better than me or
Hmm.
stuff like that. It's not the exact words that you're going to see there. And it's like all the stuff that I'm thinking about
Hmm.
when I'm thinking about AI. And then all I ask it is, let's write it. I gave it when I didn't like it, I probably gave it no, yeah, The Secrets of a Great Blog, that which is
Hmm.
something that I found on the internet. So I will throw it in there. Like, okay, I love those secrets, like 7 steps. So go
So with
check what
only
we
like
wrote.
maybe a handful of documents, to support what your goals are, and maybe a few like rules, you already kind of had some stuff that you were able to use out of it, like some output that was
Correct.
actually valuable to you.
Correct.
Correct?
And I ran away here because I wanted to show this. You brought something to maybe can be on the last things that we talk. And let me see if it's here. No, it's in the tailoring resumes. So at some point, somewhere, like yesterday or 2 days ago, I already have my framework. I already had anything, and I was reading on LinkedIn, and somebody is one of those people that help, with people get hired. But I
Mm-hmm.
added him because one person that recommended him in a comment is actually somebody that I know since we were little.
Mm-hmm.
So like, okay, this lady is not lying, so this guy may know something. He's quite expensive, so not ready yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe it was him that put a little sentence. Is like, think that your resume only has 10 seconds to be viewed. What should they see? And I came to the AI and said, like, okay, we're doing some fixes. I read this. Is that can we use that in the framework?
Mm.
That is the result.
And it generated all of that for you so that you can include it in your
Yeah.
framework, basically, again.
So it included it in the framework. I just
Mhm.
had to ask, okay, now give me a full version of the framework with those additions, and come to my little text file, erase everything, replace with the new stuff, and erase it from the project knowledge, add it again. And now I have it. So yeah, that's how you do it. The more you learn what you know, it happens stuff that is gonna happen. This is a good example. Is extra experience that is too old. It's like I realized we took out the really old experience
Mhm.
about what I'm doing, but I can't remember. Somebody asked if I could go with new technology and do something meaningful, and I remember, but well, yeah, somebody asked me about Asterix PBX back in 2003, and we
Mhm.
actually, we didn't know anything. I started playing with it. Eventually, that person bought the devices, and
Mhm.
we created a 50 lines PBX with a call center.
So
So
this is
yeah,
like
no,
this is stuff you won't want to have in your resume, but it's stuff that you want the project to know about because it may
might
become
be.
relevant with a particular job posting that you're going for.
But this is the beauty. I just realized that yesterday.
Uh-huh.
So this wasn't from the beginning. It's yesterday, like, oh, I do need that. So I found an old resume that had everything because it's not ever anymore in my LinkedIn. It's no more in my current resume. And I
Mhm.
found an old one and I made sure, I put it and like, okay, let's extract whatever is old. And it gave me what is old and it's not in the resume. And it gave me this. So I just copied, pasted, and put it somewhere. It's part of the
And
document.
then did you add a rule for that and to say use this document? And I think I saw something in there that was
I,
a couple things where it
I,
says
I haven't about this one in particular.
uh-huh. But there
But
was some examples you had in there of like even in the project knowledge, the overall rules where you reference those documents and how to kind of operate against them or how to use them
yeah,
generally.
and I wanted to do this. I'm asking it, okay, of my documents, what overlaps? So it's telling me that like personal branding is appearing in the resume and the LinkedIn. The skills lists are referenced across multiple document types. Experience description appear in multiple formats, blah, blah, blah. And that way, sometimes I can clean it up, like, oh, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm using the same summary in two places. But yeah, no, I do have, when I added the 13 red flags,
Mm-hmm.
I thought I needed this, but actually I don't. Claude is very good at looking at that because we
Mm.
have it.
Okay.
I think I added this too, is what you saw.
Yes.
But actually, that could be something more like always check the project knowledge results. Like you see, I was gonna put documents, but then I'm saying document for the project knowledge, and I don't want my dumb assistant to get confused. And that's the reason I changed it to
Okay.
results. Okay,
Results.
that
Yes.
can be something more like that. And what I'm trying to think is the AI is not that smart.
Uh-huh.
It's gonna get confused. So I can do that, and done. That's part of my instructions.
Nice.
And I will see what happens whenever I do something new. And I will keep growing it. But yeah, that's the point. Once you realize you're creating a resume and then you added something from your experience that you didn't even remember because the AI asked you, add it to your resume. And you don't have to do it manually. You don't have to find out. You can tell the AI, you have a resume there, you have a resume here. Compare them. What is different? Oh, I find this new entry. Good. Now give me the full resume with the new entry, and it will do it.
So maybe kind of to wrap this in a bow here,
Yeah.
I think this is really great content. I feel like I'm going to be able to, take this and go and create my Claude API confidence that I'm doing it right. So I
Yeah.
really appreciate this. I do wonder, like, what sort of features that are coming in Claude AI or ChatGPT are you interested in exploring next?
Yes, I think this is thank you, because for me this is a proof, an even bigger proof that AI is more interested in not writing BS.
Mhm.
And if they other the styles, they usually had, I can remember, they only had concise and another, and I
Mm.
found out that they have several, and it happens that now you actually can create your own writing style. You add a writing sample. So if you have your own style of writing, I
Mhm.
cannot do mine because it will be like write like a crazy person. But if you actually have some organized way of writing, like I
Mhm.
mentioned the essays in the United States, it's the first thing I had to learn to pass the
Mhm.
certification. I have to pass a college test when I came here, and I'm like, what, an essay? What is that? And I had to learn
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
It's very specific.
Mhm.
So you can add writing examples here, or you can describe it
Oh,
in what
okay.
I want to tailor to an audience. I want to use a specific voice and tone. Describe generally. Use custom instructions.
Well, that's pretty comprehensive, and I think that
It is.
especially for content writers, I have that as a service. I write content
Yeah.
for others, and being able to, because you're talking about after you've created the project, you can then also inside the project just have this feature of creating or using a style and things like that. So what's interesting about this to me is that I'll be able to potentially have like separate projects for my separate client blogs or even honestly for my own stuff. I might have a different tone that I want to set or style I want to set with my career development website versus my personal tech website for my personal brand. So that's really interesting, that feature there.
And this is the best part. You know how my brain goes?
Yeah. So you're just going to go ahead and ask it to create a style. Yeah. Why not? Right.
It has a lot of information about me.
Uh-huh.
Done. Go copy
Awesome.
paste that.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's
great.
rude.
There was another
Technically.
feature that you showed me earlier before we started recording about an improving feature inside the documents, I think it was, that it would generate.
Oh
Was
yeah,
there
yeah, yeah. We
something about
discovered
that
that
too?
like I believe ChatGPT has this as well, which is
Mhm.
on the model with Canva, they call it. I haven't
Mhm.
tested, but I believe it's the same. So we're gonna go here and we're gonna find one of these docs. I believe this is the Canva, but
Okay.
actually, if I highlight this, I can improve it,
Oh,
or I can
gotcha.
ask it to explain that shit to me.
Why did it do that? And then also looking for it to improve a specific piece of that. Nice. That's really helpful too, because that's a question I have all the time. Is like, why
And
did
stop.
you do this? And
Don't
instead of having to
stop
like,
generating.
you
Stop
know,
generating.
ask
Thank
the
you.
question manually, you could
Sorry.
just highlight the thing, and then it will kind of automatically do the things.
Yeah, and you can ask it to enhance it, and it's gonna ask
Mhm.
questions. And supposedly, you're gonna find this model here that is beta. So it's
With the
supposed to do,
canvas, right?
yeah, it's supposed to do the
Mhm.
same, which I don't know.
I haven't played with that yet myself either.
I don't know what it's gonna create. Oh yeah, there you go. That's your Canva.
And then let's try to highlight. I wonder if that's a thing.
Yeah, you see, Edit or
Ah, okay.
explain.
So very similar.
Oh, look
Yes.
at that. Help me write.
Uh-huh.
No, I believe that's something else.
Oh
Oh,
yeah, the
come
right
on.
click.
Ask
Apps.
ChatGPT, bold, change the letters, work preference, keep
Sure.
talking to it. And
Yeah,
it's
and this is kind
actually,
of generally the evolution, right, that we're seeing across all AIs is that some of these features, it's coming from people that are using it, right? That we're seeing that we need a little bit more nuance. We need it to be a little bit more natural language. And I think it's completely fine. I think where I came into this call was I want to learn more about Claude API because I'm so impressed. Because I've been working with, Chat GPT more, and I haven't really worked with Claude API yet. So I want to understand better how to even approach working with it, which this really has answered. But I will say and you're kind of going into this right here and right now. This is not a bash on ChatGPT. There's lots of things about ChatGPT, not just the analysis, not just creating reports and doing research online, that sort of thing. But there's other things that ChatGPT is doing great, and will probably continue to have the strength. Like you're showing some editing of images here that is really impressive.
yeah, it's failing, but yeah, that's the idea.
Mhm.
Yeah, the part on images is uh it is fantastic. No, I have to cancel now, and I can tell it. I think I can do that very quick.
And then to tell it to change that piece as well.
Yeah. So yeah, there is some stuff that is good, and it actually regenerates the image. But again, in the images, it actually hallucinates a lot. They change every recommendation, but you have good stuff that you can do with bot. And if you ask me, I'm gonna keep paying for bot as long as I can. It did not do the right thing, but you know,
Mm-hmm.
you can play with that. You can even marketplace or ask new stuff. I mean, there is a lot to do here. So I actually
Mm-hmm.
generate my images with ChatGPT for my blogs because
It
in
does
the
not make
desk
a difference.
that
Yeah.
now I have a typewriter, which is terrible because it makes me so
A
sad. My,
typewriter.
my grandpa, who is the
Yeah.
most important person in my life, his work was maintenance of typewriters.
Oh yeah, really.
Yeah. So if you see me in front of a typewriter and I'm sitting down and almost with a little tear in my eye, it's remembering my grandpa that died when I was 13. Actually, died the same year I met computers.
Really?
Hmm.
That's interesting. A kind of a trading of technologies in a way that really transitioned
Yeah,
for you at that time of your life.
yeah, I
Um,
think so. Anyway,
so, well, good
there's
memories. I mean, honestly, I think it's really great that you shared your story here today. And just to kind of wrap it up, I think you kind of started with this, but that just to reiterate that the perfect prompt doesn't exist. That sort of
that's the
idea,
biggest. That's the
right?
biggest one. I've talked to somebody and say I'm using AI, and they come back to me. No, I don't believe in AI because everything is fake. And that's one of the arguments. Like, if you ask AI to create stuff, yeah. If you ask AI to create a software, yes. If you ask it to write what you want to write, I want a hookup date. Don't give me what I need to do. I want these because I know if that's what I need. And the other one is the freaking perfect prompts. With this prompt, you're gonna create a story. Like, no, you're not. You're gonna create steal stories. You're gonna create something that is absurd, and we're gonna pay a price for that because we are. That's the work of AI. That
Mhm.
people is, like, oh, I wasn't a developer, but now I'm developing with AI. No, dude, no. If you're not a developer, you're not developing with AI. You're letting AI do something weird.
Mhm.
Trust me.
Mhm.
85% of what you do will work. There is a 10% that is you're going to pay. But if you're a developer, you know what you're doing. I developed the whole. I mean, when we were talking about BLT replacements in another one, and sorry, my as I said, everything on me goes
No, it's fine.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Where is here? No, where is? How I go back to my stuff? I need to see my. There you
Repository
go.
top. There we go.
And it. All these scripts that are trying to help replace what BLT does, all of this I created with AI. Of course, I'm not saying give me a script that run all the draw commands in all sites on a multi-site. I started in my approach. How will I approach it as a developer? Okay, first of all, I need to find out how do I know it's a multi-site. Okay, in Drupal, if there is a site folder and there are folders inside, I can assume those are sites, but they're only sites if they have a settings.php. So that's the first part we developed. And then I started adding. Okay, to that code, we're going to try and find out from the location of the code. I want to find out. So the code is code is located in the root of the folder, in the root of the site, in a slash script. I need to find out there is at the same level vendor, and I want to run vendor. I want to find Drush. So it will give me that. And it's not like go do this. It's a little approach, and then I will look at the code like, hey, no, that's not gonna work, dude. I know that's not gonna work. So I reprompt it, or I edit my prompt because I know what mistake I said that made the AI hallucinate. But yeah, not all this is created. I mean, there is so much that you can do. But
yeah, I mean, it still in the end saves you time. You still have to think like an architect and treat the AI as an assistant. But
exactly, this is not AI code. This is my code, my algorithm, written by AI. And why? Because I don't know Bash very well to do this. Sorry.
Do complex scripting.
Oh my God, my mouse. That scripting is a little bit too. The syntaxes, I have no idea. I know you need to go through all the multi-sites that we already detected, right? We're detecting, I believe, they're the multi-sites. Now we're finding the Drush command. Somewhere in one is, I know you need a cycle or something to go through all the folders and find if there is a settings.php. It's not what I'm highlighting because I don't remember where it is at this point, but that's what it's about. I know what I want to do. It's my code. It's my algorithm. And again, that goes to the point. There is no perfect prompt. There is no. It's a lot of work. It's reprompting. It's writing. It's asking. It's knowing what you're doing. Because if you don't, it's gonna give you something very weird. And there is some weird stuff here that I know is there, but I was tired. But anyway, yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you and everybody. And I believe I'm gonna publish this recording, which is long, but you can watch it in any way you want back. And feel free to reach out to me if you have questions. I love this that I'm doing. I think this is gonna help us, all of us looking for a job or trying to start something or trying to write. Not all of us are writers for hire or have the ability that you have to write, like Kent. And this helps. And this helps because we have to do something, right?
Yeah, I mean, and even for people that consider themselves to be good writers, I think that the toughest thing, is to, at least one of my challenges as a writer, is when I go to write for someone else, like getting inside of their head is, and consistently, writing in that other person's way of writing is a difficult task. And so, I think even for professional writers, something like this really can help. So I thank you so much for this, Carlos. And I know that others will benefit as well.
And sorry it took so long. I know you were busy, but cool.
Oh no, it's good. You're great. Thank you.
Thank you. Talk to you later. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.